Hello, this is Food Offensive Weekly News, and I am here to bring you some news from this week. This is the May 6th, 2013 edition, and I've got everything from the true quality of McDonald's burgers to arsenic in chicken and the FDA continuing to ignore that, and also, of course, some GMO labeling news and some the most recent states that are going through that battle and the pressure that we have put on the biotech industry through this whole food labeling fight. It's causing them to bite back, as a Reuters article puts it. So let's get started here with the first article this week. It's from Natural Society. There was a CNN report, and I'm going to show you the video here briefly. Basically, is a 14-year-old mummified McDonald's burger virtually unchanged. This is by Anthony Gucciardi of Natural Society. NaturalSociety.com, May 1st, 2013. And he starts out by saying, "We know fast food is loaded with synthetic chemicals and is downright devastating to your health. But a newly discovered mummified McDonald's burger visually represents just how little the Frankenfood burger actually changed over 14 years. This burger was purchased by David Whipple back in 1999 on July 7th, and now the burger looks and smells virtually the same as the day he bought it. In fact, there is no visible mold development or decay of any kind, whereas you would begin smelling a real homemade beef burger within a matter of hours. If it were to sit inside a hot closet, the McDonald's burger went completely unidentified for 14 full years, as it did not even put off any kind of smell. Whipple actually found it by accident when going through his closet assortment. So it wasn't until him and his family were going to donate some old coats to Goodwill that he found that burger. Now, it's just funny because I don't know how you can lose something of that nature in a closet. I mean, yes, people live in homes for long periods of time, and that could easily, you could easily lose things, but 14 years later, you're finding a burger. Obviously, if it was, as Anthony Gucciardi, puts it very well, in the fact that if it was a real burger, if it was real beef, obviously the smell would be absolutely horrible, and they would recognize that there was something not right, and they would be searching it out, trying to find it. But also, if you've seen the documentary Super Size Me, they pretty much do that at the end of the show. They have a burger there they keep in the office for, I don't remember how long, but it's not anywhere near the 14 years. And the fries, of course, are, real potatoes would go moldy after less than a week, but the fries there just stayed just like they were, when they came to the plate. So very disturbing, but for me, no surprise, absolutely no surprise at all. But here's the kicker. I'm actually going to, before I get to the kicker here, I'm going to show you this video. This is a clip from CNN, and it shows Mr. Whipple, and it shows his burger and things like that. So let's take a look at that video real quick and then move on with the rest of the article.
July 7th, 1999.
1999, the year this hamburger was born, on a grill in Logan, Utah.
I bought it for 79 cents.
David Whipple kept the burger around for a few weeks as a prop to sell diet supplements.
I mean, it looked as good a month out as it did the day I bought it.
He soon forgot about it, wrapped up,
Right there.
and stuffed away in this coat pocket. The family, with burger tagging along, moved to St. George, where the coat sat in this closet for years.
Well, I thought there'd be some mold.
Until one day, Whipple's wife checked the pocket and couldn't believe it.
No fungus, no mold, no smell.
Besides the pickle,
Color looks great.
it looked the same.
It freaks people out. They absolutely can't believe it looks that good.
They put it on eBay once,
It went up to something like $2,000.
but decided not to sell,
Good morning, campers.
even when a radio station offered $5,000.
They wanted to buy it, have a disc jockey microwave it, and then eat it at some kind of promotion they were going to do.
Where do you keep a 14-year-old hamburger safe and sound?
inside a Big Mac tin, of course.
Good thing you keep it in a little sarcophagus because you got the King Tut of hamburgers here.
To find out what's behind the hamburger that just won't die,
This is a mummified hamburger.
we asked Executive Chef Paulo Blazer at Dixie State University.
It dried so fast that there was no way that the bacteria or mold could grow into it and make it nasty.
With the mystery solved, we still wanted a little fun at the campus cafeteria. Diners had a hard time guessing its age.
Maybe like,
Does it look 14 years old?
about a week or so. A month old?
But had no problem expressing their disgust.
That's so wrong.
No thanks.
That's just too nasty. Like, why would you keep that?
We don't know what's going to happen to this thing.
Whipple says he's not getting rid of the perfectly mummified King Tut burger anytime soon.
Maybe I'll take it on vacations and travel around the world showing it off to everybody.
So that was it. At least from what I can tell, you can't prove that the burger is that old, but I very well, I can very much believe that it is, a burger that old is going to look similar to what it does today. I can just get that, and that's why I choose not to eat it. It's several places for that reason. I know too much at this point. So the last half of this article talks about, this is what's crazy about this is McDonald's reaction to this and their response. They're in a press release. And basically it's, quote, completely normal. That's right. It says, but according to McDonald's, that's perfectly normal. In fact, their press response states that McDonald's burgers are just like what you buy at the store. 100% beef. It goes on to say the company states that certain conditions need to exist in order for food to attract bacteria, mold, or even decompose. I understand that as a chef. You need high moisture, high protein, low acid, things like that for bacteria to grow. And if you've seen these movies, Food Inc. and some of these other documentaries documenting the fact that these burgers, the meat is coming from several different factories. There's no telling what else, and I can't confirm it, but what else is in the meat? Is there filler? I mean, they're saying that it's 100% beef, and if it is, then obviously it can go dry. And of course, without that moisture, it very well could have dried up and become an MRE. Just add water later, and you got your burger back. But I just don't think that fresh ground beef would do that. And if it wouldn't dry up basically before, I don't think it would dry up before it started to go bad, about like this burger did. So that was my point with that. And he ends the article by saying he's been offered thousands of dollars for the burger, but instead insists on keeping it as a relic of sorts. And so he kind of refers to that a little bit in the video clip, but that's my first story this week, and something a little bit, I don't know, would you call that lighthearted? I'm not sure. More scary than anything. I mean, mummified is, more to that word than, more meanings to that word, definitely something to look out for, not to mention all the other things in all the other issues with the food at fast food chains like McDonald's, and Anthony Gucciardi actually makes the video that he has on his article here. Also, it linked when I watched it earlier. It linked to a video he made he went through a McDonald's drive-thru and bought a McRib sandwich. That's kind of a seasonal thing they run at McDonald's, and there's just, oh man, that thing is laden with bad stuff for you. So he kind of goes over that as well. But be informed. That's my point here, to be informed and to know what you're eating and to know what's going into your body. And speaking of dangerous things in our food and toxic ingredients, downright unhealthy ingredients, you name it, there's a press release put out by Center for Food Safety, and they talk about how the FDA ignores toxic arsenic in animal feed. They put this out on March 1st, 2013 as well. This is a lawsuit filed to force FDA to protect public health and ban arsenic in feed for chicken, turkey, and hogs. It says today, attorneys at the Center for Food Safety filed a lawsuit on behalf of CFS, the Institute for Agriculture and Trade Policy, and 7 other U.S. food safety, agriculture, public health, and environmental groups to compel FDA to respond to the group's 3-year-old petition, which calls for immediate withdrawal of FDA's approval of arsenic-containing compounds as feed additives for food animals. So this is something that's not really new. This is something that's several years old. But it says, filed the same day, Consumer Reports released an alarming study on antibiotic resistance in turkey. The lawsuit highlights yet another gaping hole in FDA oversight of animal feed additives. And I downloaded that Consumer Reports release as well, but I'm just featuring this particular article here this week. It says arsenic is commonly added to poultry feed for the FDA-approved purposes of inducing faster weight gain on less feed and creating the perceived appearance of a healthy color in meat from chicken, turkeys, and hogs. Yet new studies increasingly link these practices to serious human health problems. Today's lawsuit seeks to force FDA to fulfill its mandate to better protect the public from arsenic. The 2009 petition presented abundant science to FDA that organic arsenic compounds, like those added to animal feed, are directly toxic to animals and humans, but also that they convert to cancer-causing inorganic arsenic inside of chickens, in manure-treated soil, and in humans. Additional testing since submission of the 2009 petition demonstrates even greater cause for public concern, and therefore greater urgency meriting FDA's prompt attention. So that's just the first part of it there that I wanted to read, and it points out the cancer-causing inorganic arsenic in chickens, in manure-treated soil, and in humans. You can buy, just a bag of topsoil or fertilizer from your local home and garden store, and people are doing that right now. With the spring on us and planting and things like that of gardens and flowers, and this is the problem. It's if it's in the manure from the chickens as well, it's extremely dangerous. There's an article or a report, 2006, titled "Playing Chicken: Avoiding Arsenic in Your Meat," and that was linked in this Food Center for Food Safety article. But this is from the IATP, or Institute for Agriculture and Trade Policy, and they put this out as a copyright 2006. And I wanted to point out a couple things from the summary of this. This is about a 34 page PDF that you can download, and goes into quite amount of detail, but I wanted to point out a couple of points they make right away in the executive summary here. It says, arsenic causes cancer even at the low levels currently found in our environment. Arsenic also contributes to other diseases, including heart disease, diabetes, and declines in intellectual function, the evidence suggests. Some human exposure to arsenic stems directly from its natural occurrence in the Earth's crust. Other arsenic is mined and then used intentionally for commercial purposes. So, there's arsenic naturally occurring, and we're receiving doses of that. And I would say there's a lot of metals that can be toxic in high levels, but on there's trace minerals and trace elements that we need. I would say arsenic, if I'm not mistaken, it's in apple seeds as well. But we're not talking about, with this particular danger and risk, we're talking about adding arsenic intentionally on top of what we're already receiving naturally. So this is a problem, obviously. It says arsenic also contaminates many of your favorite foods, including fish, rice, and chicken. Some food contamination stems from intentional uses of arsenic. In this report, we clearly connect arsenic residues in chicken meat to the decades-old practice of intentionally putting arsenic into chicken feed. Of the 8.7 billion American broiler chickens produced each year, estimates are that at least 70% have been fed arsenic. Some of that arsenic stays in chicken meat, so that's obviously the danger here. Goes on to say, giving arsenic to chickens further adds to an already significant arsenic burden in our environment from other intentional, now banned uses. For example, American-grown rice contains 1.4 to 5 times more arsenic on average than does rice from Europe, India, and Bangladesh. Scientists think that the likely culprit is the American practice of growing rice on former cotton fields contaminated with long-banned arsenic pesticides. See, how many weeks has it been in a row now that I've come across, not even intentionally, the fact that we're so much worse than many other countries. And here again this week, our rice has 1.4 to 5 times more arsenic in it than other countries such as Europe and India and Bangladesh. So they show a lot of charts here and the types of chicken that they tested and so on and so forth. Like I said, it gets detailed, and under a section titled What We Found, I have a little highlight here I want to read. It says nearly 3/4 of the raw chicken breasts, thighs, and livers from conventional producers that we tested carry detectable levels of arsenic. Of certified organic or other, quote, premium chicken parts or whole chickens, just 1/3 had detectable arsenic. Use of arsenic in chicken feed is prohibited under organic standards. So there again, obviously it's permeated so in a way where there's still some detectable levels of it in chicken that's organic, which is not allowed to be used. So, obviously you can avoid a lot of this by eating organic, but we still, at this point, this is a fact to take, that you can't completely just buy organic and say, okay, everything's great, let's stick our head in the sand and go for it. But obviously you need to double check and recheck, and hopefully by me pointing out some things here, it's another thing to put on your radar as far as the food that you're eating. And speaking of issues with the FDA, Marcola.com, he released an article on May 1st as well, talking about a lot of funding that the FDA receives. In fact, 94% of the FDA's budget increase this year is funded by drug companies, and this could be, a slight conflict of interest here, but I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this. He has quite a lengthy article and detailed information in here, but I wanted to just mention it in regards to the whole Center for Food Safety release that they put out that I just covered about the FDA ignoring toxic arsenic, and who's watching our backs here, and we want to make sure that their ties with their funding sources isn't getting in the way of them making a move and actually taking action on an issue like the arsenic chicken. And he points out the extra $821 million that the FDA is seeking, 94% of it, or $770 million, would come from user fees paid by the drug industry. So 94% of their budget increase would come from drug companies, and they're basically seeking, in their 2014 proposed budget, seeking an increase in that almost $1 billion. And he points out a few items that they've overlooked. Quote, overlooked. It could have been they were paid to overlook it, or whatever you want to suggest concerning that. But I thought that was important to bring up. The recent things we're covering with the artificial sweetener aspartame, wanting to add it to dairy products, and the FDA even considering allowing it is a big issue. And that's one of the things he points out, one of the bullet points here. But you can see that article in full yourself, but I wanted to point that out in relation to the second story I had concerning the arsenic in our chicken meat. But continuing on this week with a bit of an action alert, a bit of continuation of coverage of GMOs and the food labeling debate, the GMO labeling debate. Food Democracy Now! Put out an action alert to stop SB 633, which it is Oregon's new Monsanto Protection Act. So it's hard to keep up on these. These happen so quickly, but they're going to vote on this. You're going to be watching this after they even vote on it, but it's a lesson for us to keep an eye on, at least on your certain state, to make sure that nothing is getting slipped through, and we're not coming on something too late, like I have been with these labeling updates. But I wanted to just bring this to light and then cover some more labeling issues here. But it says if SB 633, which is being called Oregon's Monsanto Protection Act, passes the legislature, it will permanently strip Oregon's farmers and citizens of the right to make local agricultural decisions that protect area farmers, local economies, and organic seed production, and much, much more. It is known as a seed preemption bill. Oregon's Monsanto Protection Act seeks to protect big biotech interests in Oregon. The region of the Rogue Valley in Jackson County, a crown jewel of organic, non-GMO, and heritage seed production, is being put at risk of permanent genetic pollution should this bill pass. The stakes couldn't be higher, and I would agree. There's a couple of senators that are fighting for this and helping keep it out, and hopefully that it won't take over, because this is a problem. When we've looked at genetic, as this article puts it, the genetic pollution, that the cross-pollination and things of crops that are way down the road from one farmer growing organic and another farmer growing the GMOs. The GMOs will actually go infect the other crops, so it's a huge problem. And we've got seeds and things that are heirloom seeds that could face the risk of getting wiped out because they're being affected. And how are we going to go test every single one and make sure it's going forward it's safe? And so last week I looked at the Missouri Monsanto Protection Act and the whole issue that it covered. But this whole labeling debate is really come a long way, and it is really heating up. I think we haven't even seen the half of it. But this Reuters article points out the fact that their title states, U.S. GMO food labeling drive has biotech industry biting back. And it says new efforts to force labeling of foods made with genetically modified crops, including a bill introduced by U.S. lawmakers Wednesday, have struck a nerve with biotech crop developers who say they are rushing to roll out a broad strategy to combat consumer concerns about their products. This is by Carrie Gillum, Thursday, April 25th. She's out of Chicago, reporting for Reuters. It says executives from Monsanto, DuPont, and Dow Chemical, among the world's largest developers of biotech crops and the chemicals used to help produce them, told Reuters this week they are putting together a campaign aimed at turning the tide on what they acknowledge is a growing public sentiment against genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, used as ingredients in the nation's food supply. Last year, the industry spent $40 million to defeat a labeling measure in California, and now they have initiatives that are in more than 20 states underway. And I looked, if not last week, the week before, about all the states, over 20 states, there's labeling bills going into place, or people fighting for labeling bills to go into place. And so this article kind of goes along with that and saying that these companies are fighting this. It says, even if we prevail, we lose. Kathy Enright's executive VP for Food and Agriculture for biotech industry. To try to oppose this state by state, this is unsustainable. That is unsustainable. They're going to likely have, these big firms are going to likely have a large social media component. They're going to focus on conveying what it says are the many benefits of biotech crops. We've heard all the benefits, so-called benefits of the crops, but we know they're not really benefits, or at least they're untested. According to them, and this article says that biotech companies say that they are heavily regulated and thoroughly tested. Yes, you're thoroughly regulated by the FDA, which is thoroughly funded by you. So that's a problem, obviously. Scott Faber of the Just Label It campaign, he's executive director, he said they should be worried. And I think they are worried, and this is us seeing them bite back. This is them being worried. And so I think we are really having a momentum here that is going to have a hard time being stopped. This U.S. labeling bill that was put in this last week by U.S. Senator Barbara Boxer and U.S. Representative Peter DeFazio said that consumers have a right to know what type of ingredients are in their food. I mean, I agree. We see what's on the label. We see what else is in the food. Why can't we just see even more. Is basically all we're asking for. 31 lawmakers have co-sponsored the bill. There is no scientific consensus that foods made with GMO ingredients are harmful. That's according to, I don't know who, but we've seen otherwise. Mandatory labeling would confuse consumers. That's Monsanto and the biotech companies again saying that. We've seen that over and over again. And the companies are also concerned that consumer sentiment is causing regulators to slow down approvals of new GMOs. So that means that our activism is working, because no more are they just pushing these through. I mean, it's about time that we had our day. I mean, they've all the products that we're eating now, all the GMOs that are on the market now, were just rushed through, and looks like they're finally are listening to us and slowing down the approvals. And of course, to biotech companies, that is a bad deal. Dow had hoped to have a GMO corn product called Enlist on the market this year, but there has been much opposition to that, so there's going to be a delay at least a year. So I point that out because this action, usually I cover this action alert here in the last part of it, the last part of each week's broadcast, and this is a result of us taking action. This guy, the VP of this shirted, I forgot who he belongs to, but he says that it's having a profound effect on our regulatory system. That's good. It's a positive effect too, I would say. And Steiner is the executive VP of Monsanto. He says here, the article ends by him saying, "But there is a fact gap that exists. It is our responsibility to do a better job of filling it." There's a fact gap exists. Wow. They're going to fill it with lies, I guess. I mean, the fact gap needs to be filled with lies, according to them. So there you have it, Reuters. GMO labeling, food labeling drive has biotech industry biting back. So they're going to come at us with all they got. They've got hundreds of millions of dollars. Monsanto is expanding their headquarters in Missouri, a $400-something million expansion. They've got the money, and they're gonna put all they have in it, because the work that we're doing is going to hinder their income in the future. So they're going to come at us. So we need to keep the word going and keep the debate going, keep the dialogue going. And coming up, there's going to be a march against Monsanto May 25th, I believe, in all local cities and in each state, especially the capital cities, are encouraged to do a march on the Capitol. And we'll be talking about more of that here coming up. But until next time, this is Food Offensive Weekly News. Thank you for joining me.